They say scars tell stories. But what they don't tell you is that some scars scream so loud that people can't hear anything else about you. My name is Eloan Grace Hartley, and I've been living with 3 jagged scars across the left side of my face since I was 12 years old. People think scars make you weak. They think they're proof that you couldn't protect yourself, that you're damaged goods, that you're less than whole. But here's what I learned after 27 years of living with mine: scars don't make you weak. They make you a survivor. And survivors, we know how to fight back. Before I dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I promise this is a story you won't forget. This is the story of how my boyfriend Cashin Ward thought my scars made me grateful enough to accept anything. And how I made sure the whole world saw his scars instead. I was 12 when my mother Marigold married Horace Brennan. Mom was so desperate to give me a father figure that she ignored every red flag waving in front of her face. Horace seemed nice enough at first. He brought flowers, took us to dinner, and promised to take care of us both. The first time he hit me was 3 months after the wedding. Mom was working her night shift at the hospital, and I had accidentally broken one of his beer bottles while doing dishes. The sound of that bottle hitting the kitchen floor was nothing compared to the sound of his hand hitting my face. But it was the night I turned 14 that changed everything forever. Horace had been drinking heavily, and I made the mistake of asking if I could go to a sleepover at my friend's house. His face twisted with rage, and before I could move, he grabbed a kitchen knife. "You think you can just leave whenever you want," he screamed. "I'll make sure you never forget who's in charge here." That knife carved 3 deep lines across my left cheek and temple. The pain was unimaginable, but worse was watching my mother clean my wounds and beg me not to tell anyone what really happened. "We'll say you fell off your bike," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Eloan. If you tell, they'll take you away from me." So I lied. To the doctors, to the police, to child services. I protected the man who scarred me, and the mother who let him. High school was hell. Kids called me Scarface and Freddy Krueger. Teachers would look at me with pity or suspicion, wondering what kind of trouble I must have gotten into. Some people assumed I was in a gang. Others thought I was just clumsy. The worst part wasn't the stares or the whispers. It was the way people talked to me like I was broken. Like my scars somehow made me stupid or dangerous or less human. I learned to keep my head down, to let my hair fall across the left side of my face, to sit in the back corner of every classroom. I became invisible, which felt safer than being seen. But invisibility comes with a price. I was lonely, angry, and desperate to prove that I was more than just the girl with the messed up face. College was better. People were more mature, more focused on their own problems. I studied hard, got good grades, and started working at a small marketing company after graduation. I learned to do my makeup in a way that minimized the scars, but they were still there. They would always be there. I met Cashin Ward at a coffee shop near my office 2 years ago. He was sitting alone at a corner table, typing on his laptop, and when I walked by to get my order, he looked up and smiled. Not the fake smile people give when they're trying to be polite despite being uncomfortable. A real smile. A smile that reached his eyes and made me feel like maybe, just maybe, someone could see past my scars. "Excuse me," he said as I was leaving. "I don't mean to bother you, but you dropped this." He held up a pen that had fallen from my purse. Our fingers touched when I took it from him, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years: hope. "Thank you," I said, expecting him to look away now that he had a better view of my face. But he didn't. He kept looking at me with those warm brown eyes. "I'm Cashin," he said. "And I was wondering if you might want to have coffee with me tomorrow." I was so shocked that someone was asking me out that I almost said no automatically. But something about his confidence, his easy smile, made me brave. "I'm Eloan," I said. "And yes, I'd like that." Our first date lasted 4 hours. Cashin was funny, smart, and seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. He worked as a social media manager for a big company downtown, and he had dreams of starting his own marketing firm someday. Most importantly, he never asked about my scars. Not on the first date, not on the second, not even after we'd been seeing each other for a month. He would touch my face gently when he kissed me, his fingers tracing the raised lines like they were just another part of me. "You're beautiful, Eloan," he would say. "All of you." For the first time in my life, I felt like someone saw me, really saw me, and didn't find me lacking. We moved in together after 8 months. Cashin had a nice apartment in downtown Portland, with big windows and exposed brick walls. I felt like I was living in a dream, like I had finally found someone who could love me despite everything. My best friend Isolde was happy for me but cautious. "Just be careful," she said during one of our weekly coffee dates. "Make sure he's really as good as he seems." "He is," I told her confidently. "He's nothing like the guys who've treated me badly before. He sees past all this." I gestured to my scars. Izzy nodded but didn't look completely convinced. "I hope you're right, Elle. You deserve someone who loves every part of you." The first sign that something was wrong came about 6 months after we moved in together. We were at a work party for Cashin's company, and I was talking to one of his coworkers when I noticed him across the room, deep in conversation with a group of people from his department. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw one of them glance over at me and then lean in closer to whisper something to the group. Everyone laughed and Cashin laughed too. When I asked him about it later that night, he brushed it off. "They were just telling jokes, babe. Nothing important." But I had seen the way they looked at me. I knew that look. I had been seeing it my entire life. Still, I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. Cashin loved me. He had never made me feel ashamed of my scars. Surely I was imagining things. The real truth came out 3 weeks later, and it came from the most unexpected source, Cashin's phone. He had left it on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower, and it kept buzzing with text messages. I wasn't the type to snoop, but one of the messages was from his work buddy Jake, and I could see part of it on the lock screen. "Dude, you're still with Scarface. How long are you gonna?" My hands were shaking as I picked up the phone. I knew his passcode, he had never hidden it from me. I told myself I was just going to see this one conversation, just to prove to myself that I was overreacting. But what I found was so much worse than I could have imagined. Months of messages. Months of him talking about me like I was some kind of pity case or charity project. "She's so grateful that someone actually wants to be with her," he had written to Jake. "It's actually kind of sad how low her standards are." To another friend, "Yeah, the scars are pretty bad up close, but she does whatever I want. It's actually pretty convenient." And the worst one, sent just 2 days earlier. "I'm thinking about breaking up with her soon. I've gotten bored of the grateful girlfriend thing, and I met this hot girl at the gym. Time to upgrade." I sat on our couch, scrolling through months of lies, feeling like my entire world was crumbling around me. Every sweet thing he had said to me, every time he had told me I was beautiful, every moment I thought we were building something real, all of it was fake. I was his charity case. His good deed. His way of feeling better about himself while he mocked me behind my back to his friends. When Cashin came out of the shower, I was still sitting there with his phone in my hands. "Elle? What are you doing with my phone?" I looked up at him, this man I thought I loved, this man I thought loved me back, and I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. "Tell me about Scarface," I said quietly. His face went white. "Eloan, I can explain dash." "No," I said, standing up. "You can't. There's no explanation for this. You've been lying to me for over a year. You've been making fun of me with your friends. You've been treating me like some kind of charity case while I loved you." He tried to grab my hands, but I pulled away. "Baby, please. Those messages don't mean anything. I was just talking big with the guys. You know how it is. No, Cashin. I don't know how it is. Because I've never pretended to love someone while secretly thinking they were disgusting. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. I'm staying at Izzy's tonight. When I come back tomorrow, I want you gone. I cried for exactly 24 hours. Izzy held me while I sobbed about how stupid I had been, how I should have known better, how I should have listened to that voice in my head that said it was too good to be true. But after 24 hours, the sadness turned into something else. Something cold and calculating and powerful. Cashin had spent over a year making me feel grateful that someone could love me despite my scars. He had made me feel like I was lucky to have him, like I should accept whatever crumbs of affection he threw my way because who else would want me? He had used my scars, my trauma, my pain, the worst thing that had ever happened to me, as a way to control me and mock me. It was time to show him what real scars looked like. I want to destroy him, I told Izzy as we sat in her living room, eating ice cream and plotting. What do you have in mind? She asked. I smiled, and for the first time since I'd read those messages, it was a real smile. I'm going to make sure everyone sees his scars. The ones on the inside. Cashin worked in social media, which meant his entire career depended on his online reputation. His company managed social media accounts for big brands, and Cashin himself had built up a following as a lifestyle influencer on Instagram and TikTok. His whole online persona was built around being this perfect, successful guy who loved fitness, travel, and authentic relationships. He had about 50,000 followers who looked up to him as some kind of relationship expert. What those followers didn't know was that Cashin was shallow, cruel, and fake. But they were about to find out. I still had access to all of our shared accounts, Netflix, Spotify, and most importantly, the cloud storage where we kept all our photos and videos from the past year and a half. Over the next week, while Cashin thought I was just sulking and would eventually come crawling back, I was building a case against him that would destroy everything he had worked for. I went through everything. Every photo, every video, every saved conversation. I found screenshots he had taken of our private conversations to share with his friends, making fun of things I had told him in confidence. I found videos he had secretly recorded of me getting ready in the morning, focusing on my scars, with captions like "morning reality check," that he had sent to his group chat. But the worst discovery was a draft blog post he had been working on called "Dating Down: How I Learned to Love Someone Everyone Else Ignores." It was supposed to be his big break into lifestyle blogging, using our relationship as content without ever asking me. In the post, he described my scars in clinical detail, talked about how challenging it was to be seen in public with someone who looked like me, and positioned himself as some kind of saint for loving the unlovable. He was planning to use my trauma to build his career. That's when I knew exactly how to get my revenge. I created a fake Instagram account using a stock photo of a beautiful model. I followed Cashin and started liking and commenting on his posts. Within a week, he was sliding into my DMs, just like I knew he would. The conversations were disgusting. He was still technically living in our apartment, I was staying at Izzy's, still texting me about working things out, while simultaneously trying to hook up with this fake woman. He sent her shirtless photos, told her he was single, and even badmouthed me, calling me crazy and obsessed with him. But the best part was when he started sending voice messages. Cashin loved the sound of his own voice, and he got comfortable quickly. He told my fake account all about his psycho ex-girlfriend, with the messed up face, who couldn't take a hint that their relationship was over. Every message, every photo, every cruel comment was being screenshot and saved. 2 weeks after I had moved out, Cashin texted me asking if we could meet for coffee to talk things through. He probably thought I had cooled down enough to accept his fake apology and go back to being his grateful girlfriend. I agreed to meet him at the same coffee shop where we had first met. It felt appropriate. He showed up looking like his usual perfect self, designer clothes, perfect hair, confident smile. He probably thought this would be easy. Baby, I've missed you so much," he said, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled my hand away. "Have you? Because that's not what you told Blonde Bombshell 23 on Instagram last night." His face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed him screenshots of his conversations with my fake account. "Really? Because you seemed pretty clear about how much you hated your psycho ex with the messed up face, who just wouldn't leave you alone." "Eloan, I can explain dash." "No need," I said, standing up. "Because tomorrow morning, everyone else is going to see these explanations too." At exactly 9 a.m. the next morning, I posted everything. I created a website called The Real Cashin Ward and uploaded every screenshot, every cruel message, every fake conversation, and every piece of evidence I had gathered. I included his draft blog post about dating down, his secret recordings of me, and his conversations with multiple women while we were still together. But I didn't stop there. I also posted the truth about my scars. The real story, told in my own words, about what my stepfather Horace Brennan had done to me when I was 14 years old. I explained how Cashin had used my trauma against me, how he had made me feel grateful for scraps of fake love, and how he had planned to build his career on my pain. I posted it everywhere, on every social media platform, on review sites for his company, and sent it directly to his boss, his co-workers, and everyone in his family. Within hours, it was everywhere. His friends were sharing it, his followers were reposting it, and his company was getting hundreds of messages asking how they could employ someone so cruel and dishonest. The response was immediate and brutal. Cashin's Instagram went from 50,000 followers to 12,000 overnight, with hundreds of comments calling him out for his cruelty. His company fired him within 48 hours. They couldn't afford to keep someone whose behavior was going viral for all the wrong reasons. Local news stations picked up the story. Portland social media manager exposed for cruel treatment of girlfriend ran on 3 different channels. But the best part was watching Cashin try to do damage control. He posted a series of increasingly desperate apologies, trying to claim that everything was taken out of context, or that he was joking around with friends. Nobody believed him. The evidence was too clear, too extensive, and too cruel. His dating life imploded as screenshots of his conversations with multiple women showed his pattern of lying and manipulation. His social media career was over before it really began. Within a month, he had moved back in with his parents and was working at a retail store, his dreams of being an influencer completely destroyed. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened to me. My story of survival, of refusing to accept cruelty, of fighting back against someone who tried to use my pain for his gain, resonated with thousands of people. I started getting messages from other survivors, people with visible differences, people who had been made to feel grateful for any attention, people who had been used and discarded by partners who saw them as projects rather than people. Today, 6 months later, I run my own consulting business helping other survivors tell their stories and fight back against abuse. My scars are still there, they always will be. But now when people look at me, they don't see damaged goods. They see strength. Cashin tried to contact me once, about 3 months after everything went public. He sent a long email talking about how sorry he was, how he had learned his lesson, and asking if there was any way I could help him rebuild his life. I deleted it without responding. Some people deserve second chances. People who mock your trauma while pretending to love you aren't among them. My stepfather Horace is still out there somewhere. My mother chose him over protecting me, and I've made peace with the fact that some people will always choose their own comfort over doing what's right. But his scars, the ones he carved into my face when I was just a child, they didn't break me. They made me into someone who refuses to be broken. And Cashin learned the hard way that scars don't make you weak. They make you someone who knows how to survive, how to fight back, and how to make sure that people who try to use your pain against you get exactly what they deserve. The scars on my face tell the story of what someone did to me. But the scars I left on Cashin's reputation, his career, and his life. Those tell the story of what I did to him. And that's a story I'm proud to tell. Remember this, your scars don't define your weakness. They define your strength. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply showing the world who someone really is.